What's up, everyone? Welcome in Around the Felt, episode 15, week 3 recap. I'm your host, Colin Tong, along with Reagan Losher. Reagan,
yes,
how
sir.
are you doing?
I'm doing great. It was a great week of football, a lot of points for the fantasy leagues. I'm happy. I also, the Colts covered for me, so
yeah, it's
not going to be doing a crappy punishment this week.
It's my turn. It's going to be posted very shortly, and I'm not looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're going to film it right after this, so it'll be on social medias. It might be on social media before you're even seeing this video. But, for those of you who don't know, he's going to be doing a shoey, which means he's going to be drinking a beer of my choice out of a shoe of my choice. So I was actually at the gym before this, really working those in, really getting a hard workout in. So they'll be nice and fresh for you.
I'm going to yak it up.
Oh, I mean, probably. Hey, and then I yacked up your meal, so it's only fitting if you yak it up too.
These punishments have been brutal.
But yeah, if you haven't seen that, Chef Colin cooked me up sardines and cow liver and cow kidney, so that's on YouTube if you guys haven't seen that.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a fun one.
And once again, just keep giving us punishment ideas because we're going to try to do a bet every week. So for the Thursday episode, if you guys got some punishment ideas, let us know. But yeah, why don't we get into the NFL? The real reason we have this podcast, not to just torture each other.
Yeah, that's a good point. Breaking news: Mike Williams torn ACL out for the year. I have him in one fantasy league, so this is kind of killing me. It's a stack with Herbert, so I'm not very happy about this. How do you think this affects the Chargers throughout the rest of the season?
I'd say it would have a bigger effect if they didn't go out and draft Quentin Johnston.
This guy knows ball.
Yeah, Quentin Jefferson just combined Justin Jefferson with him. So. But, I mean, the fact that he's a big body receiver kind of, I wouldn't say fills the role because he's obviously not Mike Williams level, but versus last year where you lose Mike Williams, you don't have that big body wide receiver, so it's not as big of a loss as you'd think. And Josh Palmer proved a lot last year.
He's a solid
player. He stepped into the number one role for a while, so I think Palmer and Johnston will step up for this team. And Eckler will be back as well. So
I hope Johnston steps up because in that same league I have Quentin Johnston. So I'm hoping I can just plug him in, and he fills the role.
And when we were talking about these rookies earlier on, I said the only way Johnston would have like a big impact this year is if Mike Williams is to miss time, and Mike Williams is going to miss the whole season. So I think he's just going to step right into that Mike Williams role. Wow. I don't know if he'll be nearly as productive as him, but he'll definitely have the opportunities to be.
It's like you can look into the future, bud.
Yep. I don't like predicting injuries, but I was saying that was pretty much his only way to path to success. So
yeah, Jimmy G is in concussion protocol. Not good for the Raiders that just lost to the Steelers. They're sliding a little bit. O'Connell did look good in preseason though. I'm curious if they'd start him.
I think they'll go with Hoyer.
They probably go
with
with
Hoyer there. He's a veteran. He's started for a lot of teams. I mean, we've seen him start for the Patriots, the Browns, the Bears. I'm sure there's a couple more missing, but he's been all around the league. He's been backups for a lot of elite quarterbacks. Tom Brady, just to name the elitist of the elite. So I just feel like it's too early in the season for them to be like, all right, let's see what we got in this young rookie. I think they still want to compete, and I think Brian Hoyer right now gives them that better chance to do so.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I would think they play Hoyer, especially it's a division game.
They got the Chargers, very bad defense.
It's a huge game. Yeah, I think it would be a good game to see what you got in O'Connell, but I just think it's too early in the season where it's not worth the risk. Because I think even if O'Connell were to light it up, I don't think Jimmy G is losing that job.
I don't think so either. But there's also a chance he still plays. He could clear the protocol.
Yeah. Concussions are just such a weird thing because you don't really want to speculate or predict it because you really don't know what's going inside of somebody's head.
It's hard to tell what's the extent of the injury.
Yeah, it's not one of those things where you can tough it out.
Yeah.
So, in funny news, though, Adrian Peterson's going to make his Dancing with the Stars debut tonight.
Are you going to be tuning in?
I'm going to try. I mean, we're an NFL podcast, and that's NFL news, so I think we have to. As big NFL guys, it'll be cool to see him dance.
I like to see you on Dancing with the Stars.
I'd like to see me on Dancing with the Stars. I think I do pretty darn good. I got some moves, I'm not going to lie.
We should figure out a punishment. The loser has to do some type of dance.
Yeah, loser
should.
Put in
their story, one of those TikTok dances.
Loser goes on Dancing with the Stars.
What's the one with she's a rebel? Like Dave keeps saying that one.
Oh.
I don't have TikTok, so you would know more than me.
Yeah, I don't really keep it. I know what you're talking about. I have an idea.
That should be a punishment. One of us has to do that.
Like
do
7
that dance
days.
And put it on their stories.
Yeah, like
that'd be so bad.
That would be good. We could do that. That could be a good punishment. 7 days of TikTok dances.
Oh my god. Well, I just think that one would be brutal enough.
I think it would be
7
good.
days.
You have to do it on the Around the Feld account. You got to post it 7 days in a row of you doing a TikTok dance.
Yeah, but then everyone's gonna repost it on their story. It's gonna be brutal.
I mean, hey,
whatever works.
Blame it on the team that didn't cover for you then.
I know. I actually never felt good about the Ravens covering the 8, and they just lost straight up. So I'm
it's got to make
disappointed.
Well, it makes me feel good because that milk. You're going to look good drinking that milk and running a mile.
No, I mean they're still 2-1. They're still fine.
Mm-hmm.
In other news, your boy Derek Carr sprained AC joint. They thought it was going to be more serious. So luckily, it's only a sprained AC joint. I'm sure he's going to miss some time. Jameis Winston stepping in for the time being. I think this hurts the Saints' chances a little bit. Winston, I think, is clearly a downgrade from Carr.
Yeah, I honestly, I should just go to my room right now and grab my my Derek Carr bet slip because I placed it at the casinos a while back. So
might as well rip it up.
Might as well rip that one up. I mean, it sucks because honestly, he'd been struggling a little bit, but the team was 2-0 and they were up big. So I think if he didn't get hurt, they still won that game. So
it helps our bet for Saints over under 9.5.
It does, but their schedule's still very, very easy.
I know, but if you're with Jameis, dude, like you can't mark down any game as a W.
Me and Sean were talking about it before. Like it's still a possibility that Taysom Hill starts at quarterback. I mean, I don't think he does because it's not like he was a Sean Payton guy. So
they still use him, and he's good at his role.
No, they still use him, but
he can't be a starting
like
quarterback.
Sean Payton.
It's clearly gonna be Jameis.
Sean Payton put him in over Jameis like back when. Like a couple years back when he was a coach, but he's a Sean Payton guy, not a Dennis Allen guy. So, but I mean, he's got to keep out on the radar. I mean, for fantasy wise, I would think if he actually became the quarterback, I think the platforms would adjust to it. But
yeah, they did that. I mean,
I will say, Taysom Hill at tight end this week is sneaky because if Jameis Winston struggles and they decide to bench him and go to Taysom Hill, if you get even a quarter of a quarterback play at a tight end, like.
I think also with Jameis Winston starting, they'll use more of those gadget plays like they did in Week 2 where they had Hill run a lot of sweeps, you know, and QB powers. I think we could see a lot of that, where he could even get up to like 60, 70 rushing yards, maybe even a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, this definitely hurts my my Saints bet, but I'm still not too worried because they have one of the easiest schedules in the league. I mean, Jameis Winston, I would say, is still a capable backup. I mean,
he's definitely one of the better
There were a lot of
backups
Jet fans. I personally don't want him on the Jets, but there were a lot of Jets fans saying, like, we should go get Jameis. So
yeah, we got to talk about your boy, Zach Wilson.
Yeah, we'll get into that later.
Next.
That ain't no breaking news. We knew he sucked.
Next, C.J. Stroud joins Herbert and Newton as the only rookies to throw for over 900 yards in their first 3 starts. I was not expecting this out of Stroud. I keep saying it every week. I mean, he looks good, and I have Tank Dell in fantasy, and he looks legit. I got to start him this week. That Houston passing attack looks good, even with a poor offensive line in front of him.
That was my bet of the week for our Around the Feld parlay. I took Stroud over.
If I recall, yours hit, mine hit.
But our camera guy,
Freddie
Benson, the camera guy, and
our new marketing guy fucking blew it.
Drox Locks, more like
Drox Lock. Well, he hit the Allen. We should have just put Drox Lock actually in the lay instead of.
Nah, don't give him that cop out. If he's
gonna
right. Call himself Drock with the locks or whatever he calls himself.
Yeah.
Like you got to be able to put out multiple locks.
Yeah, our play smashed. Very easy.
Yeah.
Jefferson was a lock.
Yeah,
so was
Stroud. I mean, Stroud hit. I expected a totally different path for him to hit, but I mean. I expected it to be all in garbage time, but I'll take it.
Well, I think a big thing too is
280. What do you throw? 280, I think.
Yeah, 280 because they have so many injuries up front. They're really struggling to run the ball. Like Pierce punched one in this week, but they still couldn't run the ball. Yeah, they still couldn't run the ball. So they're like, okay, our best path is to get the ball in Stroud's hand, get it out quicker. I mean, they're even hitting deep shots as well. So I mean, I don't see how they go away from this, and I think Stroud can continue to throw the rock around the yard.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree on that.
And in other news, defensively, J.C. Jackson was benched as a healthy scratch. However, there's also a warrant out for his arrest for violating probation from something that happened like 2 years ago. They signed him to a 5-year, $82.5 million deal before last season. He got hurt last season after being terrible in the beginning of the year. This is very bad for this Chargers defense because, I mean, one, they're already arguably the worst defense in the league thus far to this point. And you pay a big-time corner that was elite in New England. He comes over, and now he's playing poorly to the fact that he's getting benched. And you don't really have any other options behind him, clearly, because you can't stop anybody.
The best part about that's just like Belichick being Belichick.
He knows when to let guys go.
Always lets go of these guys at the right time, and then
a year early.
Always suck.
I'd rather be a year earlier than a year late. And one time he fucked up, though, was Brady.
Yeah.
That was the one time he fucked up.
It will be funny to see. Well, I don't know for certain, but Would you be shocked if J.C. Jackson gets cut, then signs back with the Patriots and goes back in the elite form? Look at Trent Brown. He's back on the Patriots. He sucked on the Raiders when he left and got the big contract. Now he comes back and he's a good lineman again.
That happens so many times with the offensive linemen.
It happens all the time.
Yeah,
They're just system guy. Belichick's system just works.
I know. That's why they're always competitive in games. So very tough if you're a Chargers fan because that defense is not getting the job done, even though you have a ton of money invested, a ton of high draft picks on that defense. So. You got to figure it out soon.
Well, this is a good week to figure it out because if Jimmy G or not, the Raiders' offense hasn't looked good, and I think it'll look even worse if it's Brian Hoyer or Alex O'Connell.
Yeah, I mean, even the run
or
defense.
Aiden O'Connell.
Their run, I expect Josh Jacobs to have a big game, even though he's struggled so far.
Yeah.
But this run defense has been one of the worst in the league. I mean, Alexander Madison didn't do shit the first 2 weeks, and he ran for over 90 yards against this defense.
Yeah.
They just get gashed, and it's been a problem for 3 or 4 years. And the problem is when you have Brandon Staley, who's a defensive head coach, you expect the defense to at least be good enough. Right? Because you have an elite offense with a defensive head coach. And I don't understand what they're doing. I think Staley's going to be out of a job this year unless they go on a run. I'm going to be honest. Even if they make the playoffs at 10-7 and lose first round, and they just get mollywops in the playoffs and continue to let up a ton of points, why are you keeping a defensive head coach?
No, you're right.
He's not doing his part.
You're completely right. I mean, we'll see what happens. Long season, but definitely does not bode well going forward for that defense.
Not look good for Staley. Certainly in the hot seat.
But yeah, that's all we got for the breaking news. So let's dive into some questions. So the first one we got here, Joe's not in today, so I'll be saying the questions from you guys. But so the first question we got, this one's from Austin Noworski. He asks, are the Cowboys still a top contender for the Super Bowl after their loss to the Cardinals? So what do you think about that?
Well, I never thought they were a contender for the Super Bowl.
I still view them as one of the top contenders.
I never did, dude. I mean, What's different about this Cowboys team than the Cowboys teams we've seen the last 8 years? They're elite in the regular season. They have an injury or two. They get to the playoffs. They fucking choke. Same thing's going to happen.
I would say, from the past Cowboys teams, going way back, this is probably the best defense they had. Obviously, it's similar to last year, but their defense is definitely a lot better than they've had in history. But, once again, we've seen Dak struggle. But I still view them as a top contender only because of how
weak the NFC is.
Yeah. How weak the NFC is.
I'm sorry, but I don't think they're beating Philly. They're not beating San Fran. I think they can get upset in the playoffs too against.
They could totally get upset
against a sneaky team like Detroit or something.
There's also a world where they don't face where the 49ers and Eagles end up playing each other in the divisional, and then the Cowboys end up getting to the.
That's not going to happen. One of them's getting the 1 seed.
There's definitely a world where that happens.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Maybe Pluto all the way out there, a little one.
All right. Well, from a non-NFC East fan of a team, I'll put in my perspective where I have no stakes on any of the Cowboys or anything like that.
Dude, I'm an unbiased fan.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
All right, fine. To play devil's advocate here, there's a world where this team is in the NFC Championship and they're facing one of the 49ers or Eagles. So do I still view them as a contender? Yes, because the NFC is so weak. Yes, I do.
That would require the Cowboys getting the 1 seed.
Would that be that shocking to you?
Yes.
Not to me.
Philly and San Francisco are so much better in my opinion, and they're both 3-0.
Well,
Dallas just lost to Arizona.
You know the best part about
Philly isn't even clicking on all cylinders.
You know the best part about all this? Dallas and Philly play twice. Dallas plays the 49ers, and I believe the Eagles play the 49ers.
Well, we'll find out.
The best part about all this is...
they do play the 49ers because the NFC plays the NFC West.
So the best part about all this is we'll have the tiebreaker built in, and we'll get to see all these teams go against each other. So it's the best part about this debate. So I think we should definitely revisit this after the Cowboys play the Philly and the 49ers, and then that'll be a better
that's a good idea, bud. I like that.
Yeah. All right, so Austin also wanted to know, will C.J. Stroud be a viable starter for fantasy this year, or do you think his production will his production continue, or will it drop?
Well, I mean, if you're going one quarterback league, in spot starts against good matchups, I think you could do it. But, I mean, I wouldn't like to play him just because I still don't think this offense is going to score a ton of points throughout the season. He has good passing output right now, a lot of yards, but I don't expect him to hang 37 every week. I still think this is a bad team. I'm actually surprised how they played so far, but I don't think they're going to be hanging
I kind of view him as a bye-week filler, and then, like you said, in a good start if you're streaming the quarterback typically. But I definitely think he's a viable fantasy option now. I mean, he's not a locked-in, loaded play, but he's definitely a guy that, I'm playing and I'm not, angry I have to play.
I think if it's your QB2 and you have like you say you're starting a guy with a concussion, he has a concussion or something, and you need a spot start that week, like you have him on the bench, your QB2, he's fine.
And the way the Texans have been playing, it seems like every game is they're going to be in a lot of garbage time games. So I think he'll have a chance to get a lot of passing yards in that garbage time touchdown. So we'll see. But he's definitely proven that he's a viable fantasy option through 3 weeks.
Yeah, I'd still start Richardson over him if out of the rookies, because rushing outside. But you're certainly starting him over Bryce Young at this point.
That's not even a debate to me. But yeah, if you have him in Dynasty, you're definitely happy with how he's looked so far.
Yeah, especially if you have a super flex league where you have 2 quarterbacks starting. I mean, because he's a rookie and the way he's throwing the ball right now, you're fine with him being in that super flex spot.
Okay, so Hugh Chavez asks, with the Giants' loss to San Francisco,
dude, this guy hates the Giants.
Danny Penny's primetime record has fallen to 1-11. Do you guys think that's acceptable for a quarterback that signed a $160 million contract?
Bro, just such a casual fucking take. His average time to throw was 2.2 seconds, and it was the 3rd worst pass blocking performance since 2020. So, like, you want to blame Danny Dimes for that? Go ahead. Well, you're just a casual.
From what he's asking, from this question,
everyone talks about the contract. Like, his contract per year is like 13th in the league, which is where he should be. Like, non-rookie deals, like 13, it's around 13th in the league, which is where he should be given his age and upside. So,
yes.
like, it's just the market for quarterbacks. Everyone keeps bringing up the fucking deal. Like, it's just such a casual take. Right. Sorry, Hugh. I appreciate your support, but I just disagree.
Let me put my sense into it. Because what he said was, even with this one game where we didn't expect him to win, I mean, he's still 1-11, or I think it's 1-12 now in prime time. So that doesn't really excuse the past. You'd like to see a guy, like he said, making that kind of money, get the team more wins. I understand the team's not super talented and they have the offensive line issues, but still, as a unbiased fan, when you pay that guy that kind of money, you'd like to see a couple more wins.
Good thing is we see him primetime.
Yeah, because the thing that Kirk Cousins and Andy Dalton, who have a better winning percentage by a lot over Daniel Jones in primetime, they get a lot of scrutiny because they can't win in primetime. I mean, you're the quarterback of the New York Giants. You're going to get, like last year, he got his flowers. He got his team into the playoffs. He was the one that got all the flowers. He got rewarded for it. So when the team's struggling, he's going to be the first guy they point to.
That's the New York market.
That's the New York market, but that's also the quarterback position. Yes. We see it with Zach Wilson, too. So, yeah, I'd say it's unacceptable that he's 1-11. I don't think as a fan you can be happy with that. I don't really think you can defend that as a fan. I mean, you can look at every game and try to point to different things, but at the end of the day, like, you paid this guy to have you in these games to win it. He didn't look good against Dallas. He didn't look good against San Francisco. I understand they have the offensive line problems, but you'd hope he would step up a little bit more in these primetime games. Because that's the big spot. That's why you get the money. That's why you're paid that.
That's a fair point, but I would just say the San Francisco game in particular, to pin that on him is kind of ridiculous. But I understand the body of work, right? The body of work.
And it's not just talk, like, even if you take out these 2 games this year, he's still 1-9 in primetime games. Yeah. So that's unacceptable. He has Seattle this week. That's a big spot for him. I think
it's actually a huge game for the Giants. He's got to play well.
It is a huge game because those are going to be 2 teams that are probably going to be fighting for the wild card.
I think Andrew Thomas will be back.
I still think Seattle can win that division. I really do think Seattle's a good team. They had a dud the first week against the Rams, but they've looked good ever since. So I think this is a big game for both teams because I think both teams are still going to be fighting for the wild card spot. I mean, I don't know about the Giants season long. I'm not fully sold on them right now, but if they come out and beat Seattle, then I'll have a little more faith in them. But yeah, Daniel Jones has got to get a win. Can't be going 0-3 in primetime.
Yeah, they got to beat Seattle. They definitely got to beat Seattle because then they got Buffalo and Miami. So like the schedule doesn't get any easier. They got to win this game. This is huge for the wild card race, like you mentioned.
All right, next up we got Luke. He said, "Will the Jaguars turn it around?" And he also said, "Will the Dolphins fold in the cold?"
That's it. That's okay. So first with the Jaguars, they started off slow last year, went on a heater down the stretch. Everyone kind of expected them to pick it up where they left off. I mean, they have not looked good. Trevor Lawrence has not looked good. I have him in fantasy. He's fucking killing me. I'm benching him this week, actually, for Daniel Jones.
Well, I think the Jaguars do turn it around. They're a team that plays in London every year. They're actually going to be there for 2 weeks because they play a London game this week, and then they go play the Bills the following week in London. I don't know if a lot of you knew that, but they're actually going to be in London for a while. But I think they turn it around. I'm really not sold on Atlanta, and I think the Jaguars are just due for a big turnaround game.
I mean, our concerns preseason for the Jaguars was their defense. If you're letting Houston hang 37 on you, that's not a good sign. But also the offense isn't clicking. Like, Calvin Ridley's been quiet the past 2 weeks after that huge week.
And a Calvin Ridley revenge game this week, potentially.
Yeah, it is Calvin Ridley revenge game. Maybe Ridley has a big game. Maybe you like the Jaguars to bounce back.
Well, I took him in Survivor, so I'm really putting a lot of faith in him. I really expect a big bounce back this week.
I mean, I do think they'll turn it around. I think they're still the best team in that division by a long shot. So I do expect them. And then will the Dolphins fold in the cold?
Well, I know it's going to be like 75 degrees in Buffalo this week, but still.
I actually do think they lose. I think he means like season long.
If he means season long,
later in the season when you have to go play at New England, like
yeah, I do think they're going to struggle a bit as the season goes on. I just don't see them staying this hot. I think they're going to lose this week to Buffalo, and I think they're going to hit a rough patch coming up soon. I just don't think a team could stay this hot season long.
I don't know, man. That offense is so good. People are starting to talk about, like, can they set the record for the most points scored in the season?
Well, it's going to help when you have a 70-point game.
Yeah.
It certainly puts you in that conversation right away.
They just have so much speed, man. Like, running back position, Mostert and A-Chain are two of the fastest running backs in the league, if not the two fastest. I mean, at receiver, you got arguably the two fastest receivers. Yeah. As long as Tua's healthy, this team's going to score a ton of points. And they still have Jalen Ramsey who's going to come back in December.
And then
I don't know. I think this is a surefire playoff team at this point.
Yeah, and then he's got a couple fantasy questions. He goes, who is the wide receiver one at the end of the year for fantasy?
Well, right now, Keenan Allen's number one. I don't think that holds up. I think it's going to be Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's number 2 right now. I mean, the way he's looking, like, he's just unguardable. He shit on Pat Surtain this week. It was the most yards Pat Surtain's ever let up his entire career. Tyreek had like 95 against him. Like 4 receptions or 5 receptions. Like, he's shitting on elite corners. He's just unguardable. But then again, Jefferson gets so many targets as well, but he doesn't score as many touchdowns.
And if Cousins gets traded, what does he look like then? I think Tyreek's just the safe answer.
I think Tyreek Hill is going to be the wide receiver.
And then he wants to know, is Puka done? I think Puka's got at least one more week of relevancy, but we've seen this offense sustain 2 good wide receivers when Robert Woods was in his prime there. So I think he'll still be around. This offense seems to be able to provide him and Atwell with fantasy value. So
he slowed down last night a little bit,
but he still had a good fantasy game. I mean, like I think he was like 5 for 80 or 5 for 70. He ended up still like having an okay night. I mean, at the end of the day, he's a waiver wire pickup. So it's like if you're getting 9.5 from him, you can't really complain. He's not going to get 15 catches every single game.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a flex play when Kupp comes back.
I even think wide receiver 2 potential. Like I
don't know, dude. I mean, if Puka Nacua is getting 20 targets a game, when Cooper Kupp comes back, you think Cooper Kupp's not getting 20 targets a game?
No, but if Nacua just gets 10, I think that's fine. I mean, he's definitely still startable.
That's 30. It's 30 passes. What about Tyler Higbee? How many targets is he getting then? Or Tutu Atwell?
Yeah, that's true.
It's just...
We've also seen... It's weird. Higbee's a weird one, though, because there's weeks where he does absolutely nothing, and then there's weeks where he's the target machine. So
yeah, he had a ton of catches last night.
Yeah. But, all right. And then he also wants to know thoughts on Jameson Williams coming back and all that for fantasy.
I mean, I have him stashed in like 3 fucking leagues, because that's what the Detroit Lions offense needs, is that deep threat, and we've seen the big play potential. I mean, I hope he comes back and he takes the top off the defense, and they use him with speed sweeps and stuff like that, but I don't know. They said they were going to use Jahmyr Gibbs in all these crazy ways, and instead they barely give him the fucking ball. So do we expect Jameson Williams to come in and just be a huge part of the offense? I don't know. I'm a little skeptical. I think he's going to be more of a big play threat, but I think they certainly want to get him involved because they've been waiting to get this guy in the offense with his speed, and they took him so high in the draft last year. I mean, I hope so. I've been stashing him for a year and a half.
I'm just laughing because he put a punishment idea in here. He goes, you guys should kill Joe and then try to evade the police.
Who gets caught first?
So I guess this week's bet will be one of us has to kill Joe and then have to run away from the police. So.
Of course, that's the punishment idea when Joe's not even here to defend himself. So like, I can't wait for Joe to listen to this.
Just be like, "Fuck you, Luke." I'll be chasing after Colin with a camera as the cops are on his ass.
Whoa. Cops gonna be on your ass.
No.
I'll be in the bushes recording it.
All right, so Churf. You said Joe Burrow fucking stinks. It's not really a question, more of a statement, but I just think this is... I don't know, Churf. It's really hard to gauge Burrow right now because he's playing like with an injured calf, and honestly...
He can't push off his back foot. I don't know if... I noticed this. It almost looked like his balls don't have as much zip on them. You know? It almost seems like they're floating out there. They're using...
The line's not great either.
Yeah, the line still isn't great, even though they invested in it so much. They can't go from under center because they don't want him... with traditional drop back or play action off that. So they're in shotgun the whole time. Their offense is predictable. They're dinking and dunking down the field. They finally took some shots downfield.
Well, last night made me happy for this team because I don't know if you for those of you who didn't watch, they were manufacturing touches for Jamar Chase, which is so smart. They were throwing him in the backfield and
they put him in the slot a lot. I love that.
Which I don't understand why more teams don't do that. As a Jeff fan, why don't we do that with Garrett Wilson? Why do you not put your best player in positions to get the ball always?
Just get the ball in his hands.
It doesn't matter. Just get him the ball. It doesn't matter if it's short yardage. Some of these elite wide receivers are so good. All it takes is one cut, and they're going to the house. It doesn't have to be all downfield. So.
Absolutely. And also, they only scored 19 points last night, but Burrow looked a lot better, and they would have scored a lot more points if T. Higgins, didn't forget how to catch the ball. He had a bad night last night. He just had cramps, so we went back in, but he had a lot of drops that killed drives, where they could have put more points in the board.
And then he also says, "Who's the front runner for the Caleb Williams sweepstake?" In our opinions.
Oh, I think you gotta say the Bears at this point, right? The wheels are falling off. Their coaching staff has certainly gone after this year.
Well, also on top of that, they have the Panthers pick, and they're also
and they have the Panthers pick, who's also 0-3. But I still think the Panthers have more talent on that team, especially on the defensive side.
Well, more so they just have the capital where even if they wanted to, they could probably go up and trade for him. Plus, to go get him.
Yeah, they have two, right? But no, whoever has the first pick is taking Caleb. They're not trading back. It's just happening. Okay.
Well, that's not because if a team like Houston ends up being the worst team in the league, they're not taking Caleb.
I don't see Houston being.
No, I don't either.
Chicago. I still think Houston's going to be picking top 10.
Or actually, the Colts are 2-1. But I don't know if a team like the Colts or Texans somehow fall off throughout the season. Are they going to take him? No.
Yeah, they're
going to trade the pick.
That's a good point.
He's probably going one no matter what. It just depends on who's trading for that one pick.
So you're right. If one of those two teams did, I just don't see Chicago. We talked about Carolina. I expected them to start slow and pick it up back end of the year because their schedule from week 8 on is the easiest in the league. And then Bryce Young should be more comfortable. Maybe they take the training wheels off and let him throw the ball downfield more. So I think Carolina will win enough games to not finish last in the league, but I think it's certainly going to be a top 10 pick, probably top 5.
Just to play a little devil's advocate here, what about Denver? That's sneaky at this point.
Problem is Denver's played 2 really close games as well, though.
You got to think about it though, because Sean Payton, I don't think he loves Russell Wilson. It's not his quarterback.
He doesn't.
So
he doesn't.
If it gets Sean Payton, I think no matter how this season goes, they're not firing him.
Well,
they already gave up the capital. So what's stopping him? 2-3 weeks down the line, if they're 0-5 or 0-6, from just being you know what, I'm done with Russell Wilson. We're gonna throw in who I don't even know who their backup is. We're gonna throw him in there, and we're gonna try because he thinks he gives us the best opportunity to win when they're just tanking. What's really stopping them when they get to 0-5 or 0-6?
Well, Sean Payton's there for the long haul. Russell Wilson.
So I'd say
the same about. You know what? I'd love to revisit this next week because the Broncos play the Bears this weekend.
Yeah.
We'll see who really. But the Bears are just a train wreck.
If the Bears beat the Broncos, then it's who can the Broncos beat then?
And also, but I also think that Justin Fields isn't ruined.
He'll be a star. He'll get another opportunity.
He'll definitely get it because his talent is there, and people.
Baker got another opportunity with everything that went down with the Browns. I think he will.
Yeah,
Fields.
and I saw people on Twitter oh, this throw destroyed the Bears, and it was the one in the college football playoff when he threw that deep ball to Olave, and it was just a beautiful 65-yard bomb right in the breadbasket. Where is that? The Bears coaching staff I think is terrible because Fields was not able to develop. He can't read the defense. And I think they're screwing him. I think this coaching staff is going to be gone. But I think even if the Bears get the number 1 pick, I think they reset, they trade Fields, get what they can. They grab Caleb, and then they still have the Panthers pick to either get a left tackle, get a pass rush. This draft class is loaded with tackles. You can get a left tackle, and you just took Braxton. Oh, no. Darnell Wright, the right tackle from Tennessee. You just got him. You can get 2 bookend tackles, plug in Caleb Williams. Still have a ton of cap space, so I think that makes the most sense for them.
Yeah. All right, so next up we got Kenny asked about the Cowboys. We kind of already went over them.
Fuck off, Vader.
Vader asked. So he said in a Dynasty League, is Zach Moss a trade high in fantasy, or is there value keeping him for depth? The thing with that is...
Well, no one's going to give you a lot because Jonathan Taylor hypothetically should come back week 4. However, if the Colts... There's still talks they could trade him. So, honestly,
I just hold him because you're not going to get any value for him until the Jonathan Taylor thing goes on. I just hold him, play him next week. Honestly, I'd say he's an RB1 for next week. He's past 2 weeks he's gotten 20 points.
I'm starting him.
If you got him, start him, and then just hold him and wait for the Jonathan Taylor news. If they end up trading Taylor, I think you keep him.
Problem is they're 2-1 though, so I mean, if they continue to win, I mean, I took their under 7.5, so I hope they don't. But if they continue to win, could you see Irsay being like, okay, we actually don't need Taylor, let's trade him, get what we can? Or do you see him being like, okay, now let's plug in Jonathan Taylor and let's roll. Let's try to win this division.
Dude, I don't even know.
What is Irsay thinking?
I don't even want to speculate because I just don't know. Like, it's in such a weird situation. So for now, I just say hold Moss until we find out what's happening next week.
Yeah.
But for this week, start him.
I'd agree.
So next up, Colin, we have another question from Vader. Like I was saying, he asked, after what we've seen from the Cardinals, is plus 14 something to look at against the 49ers, or will there be too much of a talent gap here?
I mean, I thought plus 13 against Dallas, I thought they were going to get mollywopped, and they won by
I did
digits,
too. I was like, they've covered every game so far.
They have covered every game, but the Niners have also been dominant.
I think that both teams have covered every game, so it's a battle of the 3-0 against the spreads. So you can't even be
the
like...
the Niners didn't cover because McVay kicked that field goal as time expired.
Oh!
Yeah.
So I think
they only beat the Rams by 7. All right, so 7.5, I think.
I think it's definitely something to look at. I think for sure they're good for a teaser, because, I mean, if you get them at plus 27...
I mean,
and a 13-point teaser...
It's just something I'm going to stay away from, dude. Those huge spreads are just...
Yeah, I'm staying away. I lean Cardinals just because of how good they've been in these games, but
I also don't see...
Especially it's a division game, so you think they would keep it closer, but...
I just don't see how the Cardinals stop Christian McCaffrey from running down their throat, like, all day. Like, I don't know. Yeah. And also, I mean, this 49ers front is just
you could say the same thing,
different.
like, going into the Giants game and going into the Cowboys game. Like, how does Saquon not run down their throat or Tony Pollard all game?
Because, well... I can tell you why. 1, the Giants' offensive line sucks. 2, the Cowboys' offensive line didn't have Zach Martin or Tyron Smith, so they were beat up.
But my whole point is, I don't think it really matters how great the line is. Like, this Cardinals D line doesn't have a ton of talent right now.
It has none. Zero.
Exactly. So that's my point. I know the 49ers O line is significantly better than the Giants, and obviously Dallas's is pretty comparable when healthy. But I don't know. You make a good point with McCaffrey. It's just right now I lean Cardinals, but I guess we'll wait and see.
Dude, I don't know, man. This Cardinals team, everyone thinks they were going to be terrible. I mean, we certainly did. Everyone had them shoot in for the number 1 pick, but they fucking play hard. They don't give a shit about any preseason expectations or what this team should be. Those guys out there play their nuts off every week. Honestly, until they tell me otherwise, I'd probably take the 14 as well, but I don't know.
And then Vader also has an idea. He goes, I want a Vader versus Chalk play of the week with a punishment. So...
Oh, so they want to copy us.
I mean, I would if there's like a week where you guys are both like super like on one side of it and the other one's super on the other team, like I would be down to do something like that. I mean, you guys will have to come up with the punishment idea, but it's definitely something I wouldn't be opposed to seeing you guys both do something.
We'll talk, Vader. We'll talk.
All right, so next up we got Jared Crampton with a couple questions. He goes, is it panic time for Derrick Henry? He asked that for a fantasy perspective. I would say
thank
no.
God I traded him.
I would say no because historically, Derrick Henry's gotten better as the season has gone on. He always plays better in the cold. Because in the cold, everyone's
Cleveland,
it's cold out. Nobody wants to tackle him in the warm weather.
Yeah.
But then when it's cold, he just keeps churning, and then eventually gets a big run. So
I will say he's played New Orleans so far. He's played Cleveland so far. Those are 2 tough defenses.
And then the Chargers,
he had a great game, but everyone has a great game running the ball against the Chargers. So it's just hot and cold matchups right now. I still don't love that offense. We mentioned earlier their offensive line is terrible. I don't think it's panic time yet, but I don't love him the rest of the way.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't be panicked. I still view him as a low-end RB1, high-end RB2. So I'd definitely give it a couple more weeks before I really panic.
Yeah.
And then he goes, what college football team has the most value for a national championship? He wants to know for betting-wise.
Best value, man.
Because you could say like Georgia, but that's not good value.
I mean, honestly, like Florida State has. I mean, they've almost gotten through the toughest part of their schedule already.
They're plus 800 right now.
They beat LSU on the road, then they beat Clemson on the road. Which even though Clemson was unranked, it's so tough to win in Death Valley. So, I mean, I like Florida State. I hate to say it as a Gators fan, but I like Florida State. What's USC's line?
They're at plus 1,600.
I like USC too because I think they fucking steamroll Colorado this week, and they still got to play Notre Dame. They got to.
And don't they play Oregon too at some point?
Yeah, they got to. So they do still have tough games, but with Caleb Williams, I think you always have a shot to get in the playoff, and then we'll see what happens. Yeah. Ohio State just beat Notre Dame on that last second play.
50. So give them one now. Who are you saying? Florida State?
I like USC at plus 1,600 as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I like Penn State at plus 1,200 now.
Penn State.
They look really. I'm not a big college football guy, but from what I've seen, their defense is elite right now.
Chop Robinson, he's gonna be a first round pick next year.
The fact that they play Ohio State and Michigan Michigan bodes well for them, because if they're able to win those games, then they're essentially a lock to make the national or make the Final Four. So
that's the thing with the Big Ten is like Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State are the clear-cut top 3 teams. It's not even close, and they all got to play each other, and they're all in the same division.
Yeah.
So whoever like comes out on top of those 3, I think you could assume they're gonna make the championship game and have a shot.
The only bad thing in this year is like Georgia's probably a lock at this point. Florida State, like you would.
Yeah, but Georgia hasn't looked good yet. You know, they actually don't have
that
lock
to make the Final Four.
Yeah, but they don't have that brutal. They don't even have that brutal of a schedule as well. You know,
the way I look at it is, we're gonna get an SEC team. We're gonna get probably an ACC team if Florida State continues to win. Are we gonna get Texas also from? Are they gonna be in from the Big 12?
I was gonna say Texas.
Are we gonna get a Pac-12 team? Like, it's tough to say this year. I feel like the college football, there's a lot more talent than we've seen in years past. There's a lot more teams this year than versus last year, where it was like. It's either Alabama or Ohio State for that last spot. Like right now, I feel like there's like 8 or 9 teams you can make a case for 4 spots.
Yeah,
it is so early.
It is early. We're gonna see what happens. Texas does look really good as well.
Because even in the Pac-12, like Washington, Oregon.
Washington looks so good. Yeah, Michael Penix Jr. is gonna be first round quarterback
Washington, and
next
Oregon.
year.
Like you got to think one of those teams gets in, and then like you would assume right now, like into the Big 12, Texas probably gets in, right?
If Texas loses, though, I don't see any other Big 12 team having a chance.
Yeah, but even with like one loss, like I could still see them getting in. And then like Florida State right now, you'd think it's just weird. I don't know. It's too early to really say, but those are some teams that you can look at. And then this is his idea for another punishment. He says, I guess this is a TikTok trend. It's the 48 and 24 challenge. You have to eat donuts, drink beer, and run a mile. And then the final total has to be 48. So you have 24 hours to complete it. So I guess in a 24-hour period, you have to eat between eating donuts, drinking beer, and running miles. Each time you eat a donut, that takes 1 off your total of 48. Each time you drink a beer, that takes 1 off. And then each time you run a mile, it takes 1 off.
That sounds fucking awful.
It sounds awful, but it is something that could be good going down the line. So we'll have to check that out. I don't even know if I'd even bother running a mile, like, to be honest. I think I would, but you almost have to.
I don't want to eat donuts, it's the thing. Because, like, donuts are so filling. Like, you could have 4 donuts and be like, holy fuck, I am so full, I can't touch a beer right now, you know?
Yeah, the thing is,
I
feel like you almost got to go, you almost have to run, like, because it's 48, so you almost have to eat a dozen donuts, and then you got to drink, like, I don't know, because then you have to, like, run 12 miles almost.
You could run like 5 miles one day. Run 5 miles.
Well, no, it's in 24 hours.
5 miles. You could run 5 miles, eat 5 donuts. Then the next day, run 5 miles, eat 5 donuts.
What do you mean the next day? It's in 24 hours.
Yeah, but you could start it late.
Yeah, I guess.
You could do it at like 8 p.m. Run 5 miles, eat 5 donuts, go to bed, wake up, run 5 miles, eat 5 donuts, and then just drink 18 beers.
Yeah.
And before 8 o'clock.
No, that wouldn't work.
That's 28 beers? No, that's way too many. Dude, that's way too many. 48 is fucking unreal.
Well, and apparently he was saying...
That's a season-long bet. That's not a 1 week fucking spread bet.
The craziest part about that is he was telling me, because we were talking about it on Xbox, he said it's actually supposed to be 72, and people have been doing this on TikTok. And he was like, yeah, I dumbed it down a little bit because it was just like so ridiculous for 72. And it still seems ridiculous at 48, but I do think that's a good season-long bet. So if we can figure out another like crazy season-long bet, I think that would be good. But for a weekly thing, that's a lot
to
little
risk. OD, bro.
I do like that, though. That could be something we revisit later in the year.
Yeah, I think the 999 challenge is more realistic for a season.
And then Evan Anderson has 2 questions, and then that's it for the questions for today. So he goes, does Jonathan Taylor get traded before next week? We kind of talked about that. We're not really sure yet.
I don't know. It's so up in the air.
I don't even want to speculate.
I don't
even want to speculate because I just don't know. And then he goes, does Kupp come back after this week, and does he stay healthy? I think Kupp does not come back after. I really don't think he's going to be back by week 5.
I haven't stashed in 2 leagues. I sure fucking hope so.
We haven't heard anything with Kupp, and all I've heard is that he's just been traveling around to see different specialists throughout the U.S. So my thought is, I just really feel like he's not going to be ready for week 5.
I sure hope he is. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. You like to see the superstars play. So, and Yeah, I mean, I guess if he comes back, that means he's healthy enough. Does he stay healthy? I don't really want to speculate that he'll re-injure it, but the risk is definitely higher for re-injury. This is an injury he's been, it's a hamstring, I believe. So
yeah, it's like a nerve issue.
It's been, and it's something that's been lingering throughout his career, so I'd say the re-injury risk is very high on that, so I definitely temper my expectations with Kupp at this point. And I wouldn't trade him because you're probably going to be trading him at the lowest possible value. So if you got him,
if he comes back and he's healthy, he's getting like 15 to 20 targets a game. So
honestly, if I had him and he went off in 1 game, 2 games, I would definitely trade him because I just really don't see this guy playing. If he comes back for week 5, I don't see this guy finishing out the year because I just know from the history of Cooper Kupp, like he has had this issue for a while and he always seems to re-injure it and miss more time.
Well, he didn't have this issue last year. He didn't have this issue the year before.
Yeah, but he's always been injured with different injuries. He always has lower body injuries.
Always. He had a freak ankle.
Dude, early on, he had
a freak ankle injury last year.
And then
the year before, he was healthy the entire season.
And what about before that? And what about before that? Early on in his career, it's been injuries. He's only had 1 full season.
Yeah, early on in his career, you can't say always hurt, bro.
Well, the fact that
he's always had a hamstring. He hasn't had a hamstring in years.
He's only played 1 full season, so I'd say he's always injured. So I don't know what you're saying there, Colin.
No, you said it's always the hamstring. It's always this injury, which is not.
It's always lower body injuries. All right, fine. If you want to get all specific here, but that is true. He hasn't he just has been injured a lot throughout his career. So yeah, it does make me think. It does make me worry with a guy like that.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, he's okay. I'm sorry. In 2019 he played 16, but he didn't start all the games. His only full season was in 2021 when he had the All-Pro season.
Dude, he played 15 games in 2017. He was hurt in 2018. He played 8. In 2019, he played 16. In 2020, he played 15. In 2021, he played 17.
And then last year, he played 9. So
last year, he played 9. So 4 of his 6 seasons, he played nearly every game.
Well, he's on year 7, so 4 out of the 7 years.
Yeah, but you use the word always hurt. He's always missing games. Like, dude, he plays a lot of fucking games. He has had 2 seasons where he has played like half the games.
Other than that, so you're not worried. So this doesn't worry you. Him coming back at 30 years old, not being able to play. It's been 2 years since he's played a full year. You're not worried.
I mean, there's a little concern, yeah. But I'm just saying your point that he's always hurt is. I mean, I just think that's kind of bullshit, and I just got you on it.
I mean, not really. He is always hurt. He's played 1 full season.
You said always!
Because he's played 1 full season!
He played 15 games and 16 games in 2 seasons! He missed 1 game, bro! It's the fucking NFL! You can't say he's always hurt!
I mean, alright, whatever. You want to get nitpicky with it? Fine. Get nitpicky with it.
No, it's just such a generalization using the word always. He's always hurt. Like, you know who's always hurt? J.K. Dobbins is always hurt. Not Cooper Kupp.
I think you're just being a little biased because you have him in fantasy.
No, that's just a fucking fact!
I think you're being very biased right now. I think you're just...
I'm not being biased. Use the word always. Like, that's just such a broad statement that has no fucking evidence behind it.
I just gave you evidence, bro. You know, it doesn't matter. We're arguing over a guy... We're arguing over if a guy's going to play or not. I hope he plays, so there's no point in arguing. I hope I'm wrong and he plays the full season. I don't want... Like, this is not something where it's going to be, like, taking my victory lap. Like, I don't want...
I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying the way you put it.
Okay, next time I'll phrase it differently to suit you. Go Red Hawks. Like, I'm sorry I didn't phrase it to a way that, like, didn't strike you the wrong way. Like,
no, it's just an inaccurate statement.
I mean, not really, but you know what?
Yes,
we could waste more time here, but I'm just going to move on because...
Let's move on.
All right, his last question is A-Chain a flex option this week? Yeah, I think that's...
You know,
I think 100%
I'm starting him. I'm starting him.
I think you have to.
League,
because if you get burned, you're like, you know what? All right, I got burned, but...
If he goes off 30 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, it's like after a week like that, like you have to play him in the flex. Like you can't not play him. Like if you get burned, you're like, you know what? I was chasing the fact that he went over 200 yards and 4 touchdowns. And if you have him on your bench, you're like, and he goes off again, it's like 100%. It's so obvious.
I 100% agree. Like, how did I not start him after that?
He looked fast. He was super involved. I think he's definitely a flex play. I mean, I would definitely temper my expectations a lot, but if he gets you 10 points, I'd be happy.
I mean, I have so many injuries at one running back spot that I had to start Dalvin Cook, and I've swapped him out for A-Chain.
If I can get A-Chain in my lineup, I am. I mean, I'm not. I still view him as like a flex until he consistently does it, but he clearly was super involved. I think this is going to be more of a 50-50 timeshare. I don't know how it's not at this point. I mean, Mostert's looked great, but if A-Chain looked that good, I mean, I don't know how you could just be like, yeah, Mostert's still our guy. He's going to get like 80% of the touches.
I think Mostert is still their lead guy, but also Mostert's never played a full season.
Nope,
so
he hasn't.
But also Jeff Wilson.
Is that a guy that's always injured?
Technically, yeah, he's more injured.
Although he was a guy that didn't become a starter until late in his career anyway.
But Jeff Wilson's also eligible to come off IR next week, so I don't know how he's going to be in the mix.
But at least for this week, I think you can flex the HM. We'll see after this week.
Yeah.
I think it's a good question going into next week. But yeah, that's all the questions we have, so thank you guys for those who submitted. And once again, if you're listening and you want to submit a question, just click the link in our bio on all of our socials. Click on the Google form, and you got multiple spots to submit them. Right?
Yeah.
And then we're thinking of adding a new segment that's going to be coming out for the preview episodes. We're going to be doing a Felt versus the fans. So you guys ask us questions, like trivia questions like we were doing, and try to stump us. They could be anything on this season. So you could be like, who is currently the number 5th ranked tight end in points per game? Like,
yeah,
they can
we
be hard
don't need
like
any
that.
fucking crazy 1970 questions.
So just to get more segment, I know a lot of you guys like trivia. We liked it a lot, so we're going to be doing a Felt versus the fan segment. So that can also be submitted there on the Google form. So cool. Yeah. Let's go to break.
What's up, everyone? It's Colin from Around the Felt here. Post Shuey as my punishment for Ravens not covering week 2. I'm not going to lie, I'm still recovering. My stomach does not feel very well after seeing Reagan Shoe and doing that thing. But if you haven't yet, please check that video out. We appreciate the support. Now let's get back to the episode.
All right, welcome back in. Like we said, we had an action-packed week, so let's dive right into it.
We're going to start with my New York Giants at the Niners. They lost 30-12. It was 20-12 going to the 4th. Niners kind of pulled away. Talked about it earlier. The offensive line was really bad for the Giants. Their defense still was not good. They could not get off the field on 3rd down. Still lacked that pass rush. Honestly, I'm not too happy with the squad right now, particularly on defense. I don't like that Jalen Hyatt wasn't involved on offense.
Yeah.
Hopefully, with Seattle coming up next Monday, they got reinforcements coming back, and Andrew Thomas, Saquon Barkley, Azeez Ojulari. I think that's a must-win. But this, like we mentioned earlier, this Niners team looks like a juggernaut. They're going to win a ton of fucking games.
Well, like you said with Seattle next week, I mean, that goes right into what Hugh Chavez said. Danny Penny's has got to step it up next week. I mean,
Hugh Chavez, I would love for you to reveal yourself, because now we're starting to think it's like someone's burner.
I don't know.
I don't know Hugh Chavez. You don't know Hugh Chavez. I think it's a burner. I think it's a burner.
I'm loving the Giants slander, so keep it up, Hugh, because you're really getting under this guy's skin over here. But yeah, anyway, I mean, I thought the Giants were going to cover in this game. They looked decent to start the game.
They were in it, man. The
defense looked better in the beginning, obviously.
They left a 3rd and 15, 3rd and 13 on the same drive. That was a backbreaker on screen passes, man.
I would like to see more out of the offense. I mean, it's hard when your O-line is what it is. It's not great, but I would definitely like to see a little bit more of the O-line. But when you don't have Saquon and you have all those injuries, it's tough. But Daniel Jones is like, I understand, like, it's not on him, but he's got to go get them a win against Seattle. Like, at the end of the day,
it's a huge game.
At the end of the day, like, you can make all the excuses, but at a certain point, you just got to be like, look, we paid the guy the money. This is why we decided to stick with him as our quarterback. Because they could have easily just been like, you know what? We're going to go and try to draft someone. Or you know what?
He's not our guy. Couldn't have, bro.
Yes, you could.
You say easily, dude. They have the 25th pick in the draft. You can't say you're easily going to draft someone.
Can I finish or now? Can I finish or now? Are you just
Jones was their best option.
Can I finish or now? So they could have easily gone just because you're just getting mad. Oh, I'm sorry, you're a Giants fan. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you don't agree with my perspective. No, I love
saying the word easily.
Okay, well,
easily.
Well,
you easily could have drafted some. Who?
When you're finally done being an English professor
Will Levis?
Here, let me finish.
Will Levis?
So while the Giants could have either tried to trade up and draft somebody or they could have gone a different direction, they didn't. They decided to pay Jones. They decided he was their guy. So I think at this point now, you need to see them come up, step up, and win them a game. Like, you see a lot of these other quarterbacks who got paid. Yes, they're viewed in a higher light as Jones. Jones is kind of viewed in that middle of the pack where he's not bottom half, he's not top half. But I think at this point, he's got to go win you a game. You see some of these other quarterbacks stepping up for their teams. They're like, wow, he went out there and won them that game. He was the best player on the field.
Who?
What do you mean, who?
Give me an example.
I don't know. We saw Herbert get it done last week. He stepped up. He threw for 400 yards.
Okay.
Is that wrong?
No, but you're comparing Jones to Herbert. Like, completely different situations, and Herbert's better than Jones.
I understand that. But if you're paying Jones that kind of money, which is, now it's middle of the pack kind of money, but wouldn't you expect him to step up and win them games?
Yeah, but okay.
I agree. Colin, he is 1-11. Like, you gotta put your bias aside. Like, how does that not piss you off?
Oh
the guy has not been able to win in primetime. Like, I understand that, but at the end of the day, it always comes down to the quarterback. Like, you're gonna sit here and really make excuses for this guy being a 1-11 in primetime. Are you going to go right up?
Why
don't you go? No. You know what?
Yes, he has to win more, but you just can't say 1-11 in primetime, and that's the only thing that matters.
You know what? Okay, fine.
Involved. There's way more context involved.
You know what? This is what we'll do. You can go right up.
I agree. They got to beat Seattle. It's a big game.
What I want is, since we're launching the website where we're going to put out blogs, why don't you go and write a blog and break down every single Daniel Jones primetime start? And you can say whether it was his fault, whether it was the line. You can make all the excuses in the world so that it comes down to, okay, the one they won was because of him, and all the games they lost was not because of him.
I didn't say that. I just think.
But at the end of the day, we've talked about the quarterback position. It always comes down to the quarterback. It's always the quarterback. When the team does well, it's because of the quarterback. When the team does bad, it's because of the quarterback. You know that's true. I know that's true. All right? And yeah, I don't think that's that crazy of an ask for Daniel Jones needs to step up against Seattle, because I think that game's huge.
I agree with you.
So what are you arguing here about?
That? I just think saying generalization, the 1-11 record, I just think it's a ridiculous statement to make, because every game has
it's ridiculous.
I'm not saying none of them were his fault. I'm not saying the one win was because of him. I'm just saying that's a ridiculous statement to make with no context.
Well, you realize
there isn't a whole fucking team on the field and a whole coaching staff.
Yeah, you understand that. You got
that's what fucking casuals do. They make broad generalizations like that.
That's what casual. I think every single NFL fan out there that isn't a Giants fan is talking about that, Colin. It's all over the NFL. The same way when Kirk Cousins struggles in primetime, every other team looks at him and holds it against Kirk. In the same way when Andy Dalton was a starter and couldn't get it done, every team in the league was looking at him and blaming Andy Dalton in the media. So yeah, you could say it's casual, but when it's your team, yeah, you're obviously going to defend the guy a little bit more. I don't see you stepping up for Kirk Cousins and Andy Dalton and defending their terrible primetime records.
Well, there's no need to. Like, what?
Well,
I don't give a shit. What am I? I'm not going to argue for Andy Dalton. Like, what?
Okay, so it's more that you're just defending him because you're a Giants fan.
No. Also, never mind. Let's just move on, dude.
Well, is Daniel Jones significantly better than Kirk Cousins?
No.
Okay, you view him like kind of the same tier?
I'd say so.
All right, so are you going to blame Kirk Cousins for sucking in primetime, or is it more of a team thing?
I haven't looked into Kirk Cousins, so I can't confirm nor deny.
All right.
I don't watch every Kirk Cousins. I mean, I do watch every. I watch every fucking game, but I can't recall all of Kirk's primetime games like I can Jones. And I'm just saying the fact that question was posed after that performance from the rest of the team is just, it's bad timing.
I think it's more posed because of how bad it's really been. And I think it's just like the worse it gets. Like, if they lose to Seattle this week, that graphic's going to be going around again. And
yeah, but let's not act like you're comparing Kirk to Jones. Like, Kirk has been on way better teams his entire career than Jones. And Jones has been on one of the worst teams in the league for the past 5 years. So, yeah, they had a bad fucking record. Like, no fucking shit. Their team was terrible.
Hey, you know what
do you fucking mean?
Why am I...
Kirk's been on good teams.
Explain to me why I'm comparing Kirk Cousins to him. Explain to me that. Because he can't win in primetime either. It's not like I just decided to go handpick Kirk Cousins. It's because he's known for choking in primetime.
Yeah, but Kirk's done it on better teams than Jones. Like, I understand the... I understand the comparison, yeah, but like...
And also, you can't even say...
he's been on a bad team.
The Giants beat the Vikings last year.
Yeah, they did.
Like, last year's teams are very similar. Like, I think we both agree the Vikings overperformed last year. I don't think the Vikings were... I think they were a very overrated 13-3.
They went 11-0 in one-score games. Yeah. It was never sustainable. Now they're 0-3 in one-score games this year. Like, it's just regressing to the mean. We all saw that coming.
And let's not act like Kirk Cousins has been on amazing teams. Like, when he was in Washington, there wasn't a lot of good teams there. Like, they won the division one time when he was there.
Yeah, but he hasn't been on teams that are picking fucking top 10 every fucking year.
I mean, he has.
With several...
Since he's been on Minnesota, they've been good.
With several coaching
and he's been around longer, so I'll say he's had more opportunities to win and improve that. So Daniel Jones still has time to improve it, because if Daniel Jones just goes out and wins 2 or 3 more primetime games, he's already going to have a better win percentage.
God, I hope he fucking shits on Seattle Monday.
As a Giant fan, I would too. And the only reason I'm saying this game is huge is because going into the Dallas game, while Vegas thought the line was close, I think most fans thought Dallas was going to shit on the Giants. And I think in this 49ers game, we all knew the 49ers were going to shit on the Giants. I mean, there's a reason why the spread was, 10 points? So this is a game where I think the Giants... What's the line at right now? I think the Giants are 1.5 point favorites, I believe.
Yeah, we'll see with the injuries.
Let me see. Opening line, talking on a Tuesday morning right now. Let me see what it is quick. Great podcasting right here.
This should be talked about in Thursday's episode.
All right, yeah, we could talk about it more on Thursday. But yeah, the Giants open at 1.5 point favorites. So they're actually the favorite in the game. And this is a game that's going to come down, I think, to the tiebreaker at the end of the year.
Wait, hold on. All right, can we move on from the Giants? Yeah. I don't want to talk about the Giants. But before we keep going, we should mention our results from this week before we keep going. On the money line last week, I went a whopping 13-3.
Yeah, you had a great week.
And the ones I got wrong was Dallas over Arizona. Who would have fucking thought? I had Jacksonville over Houston, and I had Baltimore over the Colts. So tough 3 to lose.
Yeah,
because they were all like, high spreads over a touchdown favorite.
What's on you chalky fuck?
So I'm 31-17 on the season. Reagan went 9-7 on the money line. He's 30-18. So I'm up by 1 over this chud. And the spread, I went 8-7-1. Reagan went 7-8-1, and I am also up by 1 against this chud in the spread.
Yeah, so great week for you on the money line. Okay week for me on the money line, and not a great week on the spread for us.
Yeah, we were not that great on the spread.
So,
all right, next game. This is one that we were different on. Correct? You had Tennessee. I had Cleveland. The Browns whooped up on the Titans.
Yup.
And Deshaun Watson's arguably best game as a Cleveland Brown, threw for 289. Actually, it was definitely his best game as a fucking Brown. We were talking about. Yeah, he was 27 of 33 for 289 and 2 touchdowns. Although he did have that one pass where he just fucking threw it backwards. That was just unreal. I mean, I've never seen that. Have you seen that?
No, not a lot. I mean, I've seen a lot of bad quarterback play. I'm a Jet fan, but no, I haven't. I don't think I've quite seen that one.
That was terrible. Jerome Ford struggled on the ground. Granted, Tennessee is a stout run defense.
Yeah,
you got to get them through the air. You got to get Tennessee through the air. We know that. But Ford had 2 touchdowns, which was nice. And I predicted a big Amari Cooper game, 7 for 116, a touchdown. I mean, this Browns defense, though, you mentioned it, Reagan. They sure are elite, huh?
Well, that's what I was saying when we were talking about it. Like, I still believe their ceiling is 10 wins. And, I mean, granted, you're not high in Tennessee. I'm high in Tennessee, so I think this is a big win for Cleveland. That defense held them to 3 points. That's what I'm saying. If Deshaun Watson steps up, which he clearly did, and which I knew he could do.
Yeah, this hurts my blog post for worst contract in NFL history, but I still believe so.
It's coming soon. I hope you post that blog soon, and then he ends up making you.
No, I'm gonna post it like today.
So it's definitely interesting, but this definitely makes me feel a lot more confident in Cleveland.
Yeah, it was a good game for them. Tannehill struggled, Henry struggled, 11 for 20. The entire offense just really struggled. They couldn't get anything going, but
no.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not very high on this Titans team, man.
All right, well, let's move on to the next one. Not much more to talk about there.
Lions-Falcons. We were both on the Lions here. Drock was so confident with the Falcons, and Reagan shit on him and said, well, the fact that Drock's on the Falcons makes me feel real good about the Lions.
Yeah, but also it's just like, I really do believe in, like, teams that start out hot. I just don't see them sustaining it, like, for 3 games. Like, this was a team where I thought they overperformed a little bit. They were at home both games in favorable matchups, and they have to go on the road for their first game. The Lions team coming off a big loss, like, you really didn't think Dan Campbell was going to have these guys psyched up. Yeah, I mean, they lost to Seattle as pretty big favorites, so I just knew that they were going to be hyped up. And yeah, I mean, really, Atlanta couldn't run the ball well, and 20 carries isn't.
I was surprised.
That's not what they want to do there. That's super low for them. So, and then clearly when Ritter had to pass the ball, it didn't work out. I mean, he didn't turn it over, but he was sacked 7 times.
Yeah, that's a crazy amount of sacks. This Lions front played really well.
And I could tell you now, like,
Hutchinson with 2 sacks. Love to see that.
I can tell you now, any game where Ritter's throwing the ball over 35 times a game, I don't think Atlanta's winning that game.
No, I mean, if they're throwing the ball and when they run the ball, it means they're playing from behind. That's not how they want to play football. No. I mean, they got to get ahead early. They want to run the rock. Bijan was shut down. Algier was shut down even more.
Yeah.
I mean, at least Kyle Pitts had 5 for 41, which is nice. But I saw like a bunch of crazy stats.
It's not even nice. Like,
where it's like the problem is every time Pitts runs a route, it's always like a fucking deep route, like 15 yards plus downfield. They never set him up for anything easy underneath to make something happen after the catch.
And you say this is nice, like that's 6.6 fantasy points, like in a half-point PPR, like you drafted this guy to be better. Like
I'm just saying he got 9 targets. I mean, at least you need something to look forward to. So they got to trade him. Trade free Kyle Pitts.
Because this is a game
where, I'm sick of it, man. I'm sick of it.
If I told you Desmond Ritter's going to throw the ball 38 times, like you expect that some of these targets, like some of these guys will have good games. Like Drake London had 4.1 fantasy points in half-point PPR. Like even in a matchup where like they were trailing and had to pass, like those 2 guys weren't good for fantasy.
I hate Arthur Smith. Dude, like you have all these weapons you take in the top 10 and you just don't fucking use them.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I'm calling it now. Atlanta's going to get smacked by the Jaguars.
It's so painful.
I think Jacksonville's going to beat them by double digits.
On the Detroit side of the ball, I mean, at least Gibbs was finally the lead back.
Yeah, I didn't expect him to be that
80. You know, that was good. He had only 1 catch, though, which was a little weird. Sam Laporta looks really good early, the tight end of the Iowa. They took him in the second round.
Heavily
8
targeted,
for 84
too.
and a touchdown, 11 targets, and then Amon-Ra did his thing for 100 yards.
If you can get Laporta in fantasy, definitely go for him. Because if you can get a tight end getting 11 targets, that's huge.
Yeah.
Like,
no,
especially, I'm sure he's available in a lot of fantasy.
Those Iowa tight ends, man. Those Iowa tight ends. Those tight ends and those offensive linemen from Iowa, just something about them.
Yeah.
Next, we got your Saints against my Packers. Packers won 18-17.
Yeah,
I think the spread was like 2, though. So
the Saints did cover.
Saints covered. But I had them on the money line. Yeah, we talked about this earlier. Carr went down with the shoulder, and then the Packers scored 18 unanswered in the fourth quarter.
Also, and then it didn't help when the Saints kicker, Blake Gruby, I guess you pronounce it, he misses the game-winning kick. Or
Blake Gruby.
Not game-winning, but, I mean, there was a minute left in the game.
It wasn't even that deep either.
He missed a 46-yarder, and then Green Bay just kneeled it out at that point. But still, I mean, you'd expect a little bit more out of the Saints' defense. 18 points on paper looks good, but then when you see, oh, shit, they allowed 18 points in the fourth quarter, it's not tough. As good.
I got to say, Jordan Love, man, I've been impressed with him. He had his first career rushing touchdown. I mean, he
still was 22 of 44.
Wasn't phenomenal through the air this week, but he's been very good so far this year.
And I mean, an 18-point comeback for a young quarterback's a big thing.
That is huge. It's a big confidence booster.
Because he's they gotta be satisfied. It's only his 5th game, so it's not like he's got a 5th or 6th game, so it's not like he has a ton of experience. Whether or not he's in year 3, but still.
Yeah.
He's a young guy with not a lot of experience.
And they're spreading the ball around. Jaden Reed looks good early. Romeo Doubs looks pretty good. They don't even have Christian Watson yet. They're 2-1.
Yeah.
Luke Musgrave looked good.
Defense looks good, too.
They also were without Bakhtiari and Elgin Jenkins.
Yeah.
The 2 best offensive linemen, which was crazy.
Because he only got sacked once.
Yeah, and he only got sacked once. Apparently, they drafted another left tackle in the 5th round that was dominant. So the Packers just keep doing it.
Well, speaking of dominant, that's a good way to segue to the Dolphins' 70-20 victory over the Broncos.
Jesus Christ!
A scoregami in this game.
70 points.
And they could have had the record,
ridiculous.
But Mike McDaniel was like...
He's a good dude. He's like, yeah, man.
I don't even know if he's a good dude at that point. When you put up 70 points, I don't know if there's a good dude thing.
What do you want? He said, what do you want us to do? Not
practice
our proper technique. They're not going to tackle us.
I totally agree with
He's
that.
He's running the ball.
I don't know why he didn't. I don't know. At that point, they should have just kicked it in. Because for the fans, you got all the fans there that paid the money. And on top of that, at that point, if you're the Broncos, you're like, you know what? They already had 70. You know what? Just let it go down as the worst.
I'll say this. For people that bitch about him running up the score, dude, both running backs had 4 touchdowns. It's not like he's throwing deep shots at Tyreek Hill in the fourth quarter. What do you want him to do? Start kneeing it to start the fourth? They just didn't tackle.
Also, it's NFL. It's not like it's high school.
Yeah, come on, grown-ass men.
These are young guys playing a kid's game. These guys they're all getting paid to play.
Yeah. I mean,
I love it because
even Chris Brooks had 9 carries for 66 yards.
Well, hey, it's a good thing that Sean Payton's changing the culture there, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, clearly he's a huge upgrade over Hackett so far.
They got in River, Craft, Durham, Smythe. Barrios had a...
Well, that's half because Waddle was
targets.
Out. But it's a good... Yeah, you know...
Robbie Chosen with 1 catch for 68 yards. What do you want, Robbie Chosen to not score when he catches that ball? He's trying to get an opportunity.
He's the chosen one.
Yeah, what the fuck? The Broncos are a shit show.
It is kind of funny looking at that how fast the Dolphins are, because Robbie Anderson's considered one of the faster wide receivers, or Chosen Anderson, whatever you want to call him at this point. One of the fastest wide receivers in the league. Barrios is one of the faster wide receivers and a good returner. Oh, yeah, and they have Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. And, on top of that, A-Chain was clocked at faster than Mostert, who was the second fastest guy on the team. So they have 6 or 7 guys that are probably top 20 in speed in the league. So...
Yeah, that team's just ridiculous. As long as Tua's healthy, they're going to score a ton of points. The Broncos, I could see shit falling apart.
Because I think shit already has fallen apart.
They better beat the Bears this week. If they lose to the Bears...
Well, they got 2 winnable games coming up. They got the Bears, and then they got the Jets, so...
Man, we'll see. Jets-Broncos game is going to be ugly. I
think the next 2 games are going to be very ugly for this team.
Yeah.
So, if they're 0-5... If they lose both those games,
then Nathaniel
if the panic button hasn't, I think the Jets. I'm taking my Jets just because of Hackett. Got to ride with my boy.
Yeah, but Hackett doesn't look great. So
now they do the Broncos. Hard to look great when you got Zach Wilson. We'll get into that in a little bit.
All right, next Chargers Vikings. I was on the Chargers. I had to rock with them just because I picked them to make the playoffs. Finally, they win a game, 28-24. Herbert, my God, threw for 405 yards. Went 40 of 47, which is just a ridiculous completion percentage. 3 touchdowns. Keenan Allen, 18 on 20 targets for 215.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He didn't score a touchdown, but he threw a touchdown to Mike Williams on a double pass. Unfortunately, Mike Williams went down with an injury. torn ACL after going for 121 and a touchdown.
And how about Herbert though? Like I know you already highlighted him a little bit, but 40 for 47 for 405.
No, that's an insane. That's
and
the
three.
It's the highest completion percentage in NFL history for a quarterback that threw the ball, I think, more than 40 times.
And that's what I'm talking about before. Like, I know he's obviously better than Daniel Jones on a higher tier, but that's what I'm talking about. Like, and we were talking about with Herbert a lot. Like, to get him into that next conversation, he's got to step up and win them these games. Like, the defense obviously sucks this year, and he stepped up big. Like you just said, the highest completion percentage for that amount of attempts.
Yeah, that was a hell of a game by
this
Herbert.
Is what we're
Let's
talking
give
about.
my Herbert MVP. They got to start keep winning games.
Yeah, well, if they win like this and he plays like that, yeah, we'll be in a good spot. I mean, who knows if he'll catch Tua, but it's still a long season. But
yeah,
this is what I was talking about with Herbert. Like, for me to put him in that category, he's got to step up and win him a game, and he did that.
Yeah, he looked phenomenal.
I mean, I'm not going to give him I'm not going to say I'm still going to put him in that tier, but if he continues to play like this, well, he's not going to continue to play like that, but if he plays at this high level and they continue to win games, definitely going to start looking at him in a different light.
I do love him in this offense led by Kellen Moore. I think it really opened up the passing attack. He's going downfield more.
Look, and they don't even have Eckler right now, so...
Yeah. I mean, for the Vikings, 0-3, it's like, I think one team in the past, 2 decades has made the playoffs. The Texans, 2018.
Deshaun Watson, the worst contract in NFL history, according to you.
Yeah. No, that was Houston Watson. We don't have that Watson no more. But it's very difficult. It's not like they're getting blown out, man. Like they're losing close games. I think their point differential in the season and the 3 losses now is a combined negative 13. So they just keep losing 1-score games, regress to the mean. It was going to happen. Kirk still did his thing, threw for 367 and 3 touchdowns.
Great for fantasy.
Madison looked better. Jefferson, of course, 149, a touchdown. He's going 150 a week. That was my bet in the parlay, over 100. Let's go. With flying colors. Yeah, we held up our ends with flying colors. Hockenson looked good. Addison 6 for 52. The problem with this team is not the offense. I think it's the defense.
Yeah, clearly.
I mean,
you'd like to see the run game for the Chargers get going a little bit more, but they don't have Eckler, so it's understandable. 15 for 30 is pretty putrid, but they won the game, so you can't be too nitpicky with that. But definitely, Josh Kelly 11 for 12 is actually kind of hilarious.
That's so bad, dude. That's so bad. It's not like the Vikings are even.
Yeah, I'd be kind of pissed if I picked him up in fantasy. I'm not gonna lie, because Josh Kelly had a good game when Eckler was there, and then the 2 games afterwards, oh nice, I got this great start. He's been terrible. He's actually been worse as the guy with the full role than he has been with the guy with limited work.
Yeah, it's not good, man. It's not good. But he looked good in week 1 when Eckler was also there. He had a good game, so it doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah.
All right, next we got the Patriots at your New York Jets.
Skip. Next. Skip.
God, this was an ugly game. We kind of knew the under was going to be a smack in the rain, 2 pretty poor offenses. 2 good defenses.
Yeah. Well, good thing for me, I was working, so I recorded the game, so I got to watch this game in an hour and a half because I could skip through all the commercials, which was awesome because I didn't have to wait 3 hours to watch this loss. I got to do it in an hour and a half. So,
yeah, speed it up.
Yeah, I got to speed up the pain. So
at least Wilson didn't throw a pick, but 50% completion percentage.
Yeah, no, I don't know if you.
I saw he missed a lot of receivers.
You didn't watch the game you had red zone on, but
yeah, I don't want to watch this fucking snooze
watching
fest.
This game, he looked terrible. He missed.
He is terrible.
He was smart. He didn't turn the ball over, so I'm not going to get mad at him in that sense. He was smart with the ball, but almost too smart. Where it was
4.4 yards per completion.
He's just not taking any chances. You get so worried in the pocket because our line's so bad.
The line is very bad. In front of him.
The one time he literally just fell over because he thought he was going to get sacked. Which I get, he's trying to protect the ball, but it's dude, come on, you got to take. And then the one drive where he actually starts taking chances, we drive down the field. Granted, the Patriots kind of were all right, we'll let you pass, waste time. We get a touchdown. So the one drive where he actually is taking shots downfield, we move it downfield.
Now, what are your thoughts on the 4th and 10 when he threw the fucking 1 yard?
I don't know.
Out to Conklin. What are you doing? It's 4th and 10.
And the craziest part is, even after that, we still had a chance to win. The Hail Mary, if Randall Cobb catches that, we win the game. And he almost did, but I don't know. My thoughts are, this is a slightly improved version of Zach Wilson last year, where maybe we go 8-9 this year at this point versus 7-9 last year.
The Wilson that was probably the worst quarterback in the league last year.
Yeah, maybe he's the 30th out of 32 instead of 32 out of 32. He's slightly improved. I still think that, but he definitely doesn't. We got to get somebody else in there. It doesn't even have to be I don't even care about the Super. We're not going to the Super Bowl. It'd be nice to make the playoffs, but I think that's honestly after this game, it's even less likely unless we get someone in there. But I just like to have someone in there pushing them. It's at this point, like, it's not fair to the other guys, and we don't need people requesting trades and shit now. And like,
You can tell Garrett Wilson's getting frustrated.
they're getting frustrated, and I think the only reason like players might not request a trade is the fact that like Rodgers is still coming back next year, so a lot of players will know that.
Kirk Cousins is the perfect fit.
He is, but he has
If
to
Minnesota loses again this week and goes to 0-4, like,
But does Kirk Cousins want to come play for the Jets? That's also a big thing. He's got to waive his no trade clause.
yeah, and he's like got a family there and shit, you know.
So
like,
does he want to play for him?
tough.
I mean, granted, like if he goes there, I think they can make the playoffs. It just depends at what point we get him.
I mean, not even the running game can get going. Brees Hall 12 for 18.
I will
Cook 8
say
for 18.
the game
Like,
was
O-line is
pouring the whole
terrible.
game. It was pouring the whole game, but New England went 40 for 157. So I mean, they're running the ball in the same conditions.
Zeke 16 for 80. I mean, that's
Zeke looked good.
That's pretty solid.
He did
Ramondre looked all right.
Zeke looked a lot better than Ramondre. I'll say that. Zeke looked
good.
Zeke looked healthy.
Fantasy.
He looks very healthy out there.
Yeah. Well, he hasn't really been getting a ton of work. Judon had another 2 sacks. He's so fucking good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even Joe Namath is calling out Zach Wilson, saying he's not it. We need a new quarterback.
I will say
that's just tough to hear from a legend of the franchise.
I think just with the weather conditions, like even though we're playing the Chiefs, Zach Wilson's going to have a much better game this week just because it's going to be better weather. And I think they're going to work on a lot of stuff during the week, and I think we'll be down a lot, so his stats are going to be a little skewed because he's going to get a lot of garbage time work in good conditions.
I don't know, man. That Chiefs defense actually looks very good to start the year.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's the end of the game, we're down 3
Chris
scores,
Jones
4
might
scores.
might have 4 sacks.
Yeah, he's definitely say he's going to get a sack at minimum.
Yeah, that's for sure.
All right, let's move on to the next one. Not much to say here until we get a new quarterback.
All right, next game, not much to say on this one either. Bills beat the hell out of the Commanders 37-3. Since that Week 1 debacle against the Jets, the Bills have been utterly dominant. Granted, I wasn't very high on the Raiders and Commanders to start the year, but the Commanders at least were 2-0. And Josh Allen, I mean, wasn't even that good. 20 of 32, 218, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, but it was the Bills' defense.
Yeah,
with 4 picks off of Sam Howell.
Yeah,
that really
not a great game for Howell. I mean, you got to remember with a guy like that, like that's only his 4th career game.
Yeah, he also got sacked 9 times.
Yeah.
That the offensive line of the Commanders was the biggest concern going into the season. We spoke about that. My goodness, 4 picks and taking 9 sacks.
This is a Bills defense that doesn't even have Von Miller yet.
I know. Their defense does look good. It does look really good.
Yeah.
Even against the Jets, like they didn't let up a ton of points. They had the punt return to win it.
Yeah. I still don't understand how we won that game.
I have no idea either. That was crazy.
Our defense is just that good.
James Cook, 15 for 98. Love to see it if you're a James Cook fantasy holder. Diggs did his thing, 8 for 111. He's just elite. Really, no one else.
Not much.
No one else had more than 2. No one else had more than 2 receptions, and Diggs had 8.
I will say I think there's better days ahead for Washington. I still think this team's defense is good. It's just hard to have a good defensive day when your quarterback turns the ball over 4 times.
Yeah, I think Chase Young made some plays, which if you're a Commanders fan, you love to see that. He didn't have a sack, but I saw him make some plays.
Yeah, I mean, he's also still limited, so I think once he gets the full workload, if he gets to that point this season, I think he'll definitely continue to improve. So let's get into the next one. We got the Colts. Or I'm sorry, no, that's following. We got the Texans in a huge upset over the Jaguars, beating them 37-17.
Yeah, the Jaguars screwed me in Survivor. I lost 2 entries. I really thought they were going to roll.
They didn't look great. They really didn't.
Something's wrong with this offense, man. Lawrence threw for 279, a touchdown.
And maybe the Texans' defense is a little better than we've given them credit for, too.
Yeah, I don't know because the Jaguars' offense has been struggling this year. They can't finish drives. I mean, Etienne ran for 88. I mean, they had a lot of yards. They're just not finishing drives. And that concern with the defense, like we mentioned, I mean,
hey,
how do you let up 37 points?
I'm just happy Stroud got my leg in. We already talked about that, but wasn't our fault. So hopefully Drock and Joe got a lock for next week. So
I
we
love
can get
Tank
that parlay
Dell.
cash in.
5 for 145 and a touchdown, 7 targets, which led the team.
Definitely a top waiver wire pickup this
They're
week.
They're developing a good chemistry. Stroud said, I want that guy. Get me that guy in the draft. And for the front office to listen to the quarterback you just took, saying what receiver he wants, and to go and take him just shows a lot of faith in Stroud. I'm sure it makes him feel more confident, more comfortable. You got him as boy. I mean, I'm starting him this week. How do you not? He looks really good.
Yeah, if he's on waivers, definitely go pick him up. And Absolutely. The Jaguars, I'm telling you now, I expect a big bounce back. We'll get into that more on the next episode, but better days ahead for the Jaguars, and I think the Texans are a team that maybe are better than we expected.
I don't know. They're still 1-2.
They're 1-2, but I mean, to hang 37 on Jacksonville.
I got under 6.5, so I hope not.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, and then our final game for the 1 o'clock window, we had another huge upset.
Oh, God.
the Colts, who I was riding with.
My damn Ravens. Come on, Lamar. I will say there was a bullshit missed PI in the fucking overtime period where Justin Tucker was going to get in field goal range. Well, although my bet would have still lost, they should have won the game. I still would have do the fucking shoey, but I am pissed about that. Justin Tucker missed a 61-yarder. I mean,
at the end of the day, though, like with the whole missed PI, it's like the Ravens, you just shouldn't have been in that spot anyway. This is a game you should have easily handled them. I know they got injuries, but like, come on, you're playing a backup quarterback at home.
You tell Lamar was getting really frustrated. A lot of miscommunication up front, drop passes. I mean, Lamar ran for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean,
he stole a great 200 yards. Great fantasy game too. I mean, if you're getting freaking 22.
My Lamar MVP.
You're getting 22 points just from his rushing ability.
Helps my Lamar over 750 rushing on the season.
I'd say so.
That's a big one. That's a big game.
Yeah, it's a huge game. That's like 2-3 games worth of rushing right there.
No OBJ. I think it's clear though. Zay Flowers is the top receiving target.
Yeah, 8 for 48. You'd like to see more yards.
10 targets though. 10 targets. 8 for 48. Like certainly want more.
Yeah, you'd like to see more downfield targets, but still 8 for 48. I mean, he's heavily involved. And then, like we said, Zach Moss.
30 fucking carries, bro.
Yeah, plus 2 catches.
That's insane. Michael Pittman's looked really good early, too, after kind of a slow last season. 9 for 77. But, yeah, I mean, if you're a Colts fan at 2-1, you got to be feeling pretty good with Richardson coming back.
Yeah. I mean, I could honestly see them holding them out one more week just to play it safe. I mean, you're 2-1, so why risk the guys' health? But we'll see.
Yeah. Well, that concludes the 1 o'clock slate. When we get back, we'll get in the late games.
Yeah. What's up, everybody? We officially have released the AroundTheFeltSports.com website. Like I said, AroundTheFeltSports.com. That's where you can find it. On this website, we're going to be posting blogs that me, Colin, and a couple of the other guys are going to be writing daily, as well as posting all of our different videos, whether they're short clips or long clips like these podcasts we do, everything. And when we eventually get to the merch, that'll be there as well. So this will be a good place to go for everything around the felt. So thanks. Check it out.
Welcome back in. Let's get right into it. The Bears got the brakes beat out of them by the Chiefs, 41-10. I mean, my goodness, this game was over very early. Fields looked very bad. 11 of 22 for 99, a touchdown and a pick.
Let me just say,
several fumbles.
Let me just say, it's a bad game when they're talking on the broadcast more about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift than they are the actual game.
Dude.
And then after the game, when there's more posts about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce than there is about the actual game, it was a bad game.
Yeah, I kept seeing a bunch of memes. They're like, imagine being down 30-0 and Taylor Swift is like fucking banging the window after a Kelce touchdown, like celebrating.
Like it was so bad that like. They were asking more questions to Patrick Mahomes about Taylor Swift and Kelce than they were about the actual game.
Taylor's picked a good game to go to. Trav knew what he was doing. He's like, we're gonna kick these motherfuckers.
Yeah, and
let's
our friend
Pat, throw me the ball. Let's get a touchdown.
Our friend Marissa, the Swiftie, she sent me something. All Travis Kelce merch has gone up on the NFL shop by 400%.
Yeah, he's top 5 in sales, and he's gained like as of yesterday, it was 300K Instagram followers. I wouldn't be surprised if it's close to 400.
I got it, and like I also saw like
good for Trav. Power couple.
Barstool came out with like a shirt for it. Like it's too funny.
It is too funny.
But anyway, honestly, let's talk about the game.
There's really not much to talk about. We talked about the Bears.
Should we just be like the media, talk more about the couple?
Yeah, I mean,
Fields took a big hit.
Mahomes did his thing, spread the ball around. So many receivers got touches. I mean, all the running backs fucking almost scored. Pacheco scored. Clyde scored. McKinnon had 2 receiving touchdowns.
One thing I will say, Mahomes tweaked his ankle. He was fine, they said. But the fact that Blaine Gabbert came in and threw 2 picks as your backup quarterback is not a good sign for the Chiefs. Like, if you're telling me you're going to bring in a backup quarterback and he's throwing interceptions against the Bears' backups, like in garbage time, like
yeah, that's not ideal.
That's not ideal. Like if Mahomes goes down, like this team is still Super Bowl talented roster to around him, or maybe a playoff team without Mahomes.
They ain't winning shit without Mahomes.
Yeah, they're not winning shit without Mahomes. So you'd hope their backup would be better.
He's fine. He stayed in the game. He's fine. He'll get treatment.
It's just like long term. If Mahomes is to miss a game, you'd like to see the backup not throwing 2 picks in garbage time. There's really no excuse to be doing that against backups when you're barely passing.
I hear you. I mean, this defense does look really good, though. It's a good start, but we all expect them to take care of business in this one. So
yeah,
not too much more to talk about there. Next
big
upset of the week: Cardinals 28, Cowboys 16. Who saw this one coming, man?
Not me.
The spread was, I believe,
otherwise I clearly not me. I took the Cowboys in Survivor, and we both took their spread.
Yeah, I took them in Survivor too in 2 entries. I got chalked. I took them in the spread pool, -13. I thought they were going to roll, and no, they got their ass kicked. And this is my biggest concern with Dallas, which is why I don't think they're a Super Bowl team. When they get down, you have to rely on Dak. I don't think he can do it. I just don't think he has the stones to will them to a win. Pollard ran for 122 on 23 carries. He did his thing, but Dak had costly turnovers, including that pick in the end zone, which was brutal, man. Brutal. Yeah. I don't know what he saw there. That was brutal.
I don't know. It didn't really. I don't think they were going to win the game at that point anyway, but still, like you said, it was a brutal pick.
Yeah, defense didn't look good. I will say James Conner, man, 14 for 98. Yeah, that motherfucker runs hard, and he scored
I would definitely be targeting him in fantasy because this is a match where you're like, all right, temper expectations. The dude went out and had over 100 all-purpose yards and a touchdown.
And he's been doing it the last 3 games.
I would definitely temper. Giants, Cowboys. I'm going to say right now, I'd temper him against the 49ers, but
buy low after the Niners when he gets stuffed.
But at the same time, we kind of view Dallas' defense in the same light as the 49ers, so it's like if he was able to get it done here, would you be that shocked if he got it done again next week?
No, he's going to get stuffed next week. There's no shot he does the same thing against the Niners.
Yeah, we'll see.
The Niners' run defense is significantly better than Dallas's. But, Rondale Moore kind of got involved. They gave him the ball on the ground as well. He had 3 carries for 54 yards and a touchdown.
What do we think about this Cardinals team? Are they better than we thought? Is this a team?
Dude, they fight, man.
Team that could be pushing for 6-7 wins this year versus their initial line at 3.5?
Man, they're 1-2
because
they lost.
If I'm being honest,
the Commanders and Giants.
If we're looking at it, this is a team that should be 3-0 right now. If they close out the games against the Giants, I'm not taking away from the Giants or Washington, but
people are saying if they had a fully healthy Kyler Murray, are they 3-0?
I'd say so. Yeah,
they certainly could be.
But then again, I don't know. Kyler also probably turns the ball over and takes a lot more risks. Dobbs has been managing the game well, but then again, I don't know if they necessarily
Kyler's a clear upgrade, but you gotta say they're total different game script. It's tough to speculate, but they could certainly be 3-0. This is a feisty team.
They should be. To be honest, there's no excuses for blowing that game against the Giants. That's a game you got to close out, and against Washington too. There's 2 games where you're leading going into the fourth quarter. You got to close it out. But they finally closed one out, at least. I'll say that.
I think it's funny that everyone's survivor game plan for the season was just fade the Cardinals. Who's playing the Cardinals this week? Oh, boom. And they're a fucking feisty team. It's not a safe bet anymore.
Think about if the Cardinals are 3-0 right now. Well, think about how many people would be out.
I know.
To be honest, because so many people took Washington and the Giants in those 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I would imagine, everyone still would have taken Dallas this week and be the Cardinals are still frauds. Washington and Giants suck. So
yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the Sunday night football game. Steelers 23, Raiders 18. I was on the Steelers. I believe you were on the Raiders.
No,
correct?
you missed the Seattle Panthers game.
Oh shit. All right, we'll go back. Panthers, Seattle.
This was a very high scoring game. Seattle 37, Panthers 27. Andy Dalton. You see with Andy Dalton had multiple viable options for fantasy this week. He was able to sustain. Granted, he threw the ball 58 times, but the Panthers
which was the most in his career, which is crazy to think.
And the Panthers were down most of the game, but they kind of actually let him air it out.
Let Bryce Young throw the ball 58
for 145 and a touchdown. Chark 4 for 86 and a touchdown. We don't think Love's going to play next week, so I think Chark and Thielen.
Young.
Oh my God,
you do that every time.
I know. Wow.
What the fuck? Think of Bryce Law. What the hell, dude? You do that every week.
I know. But Bryce Young. I actually had
you almost did it again.
I know, Bryce Young.
You almost did it again.
Bryce Young.
Oh my God.
So we don't think Bryce Young's going to play next week. So I'd say Thielen and Chark are then flexible again, and then say Sanders is also. Not the best week for him for fantasy, but he got in, so he salvaged the week. He wasn't super efficient on the ground, but only 9 carries, so it's hard to be. But yeah, with Andy Dalton, I think this team has a lot better options for fantasy, and the Vikings' defense is obviously not good, so I'd say all the 3 guys I listed you could play next week in flex plays.
Yeah, I'm surprised about how bad the Panthers' defense looked. I guess they're missing J.C. Horn quite a bit, and Shaq Thompson, the linebacker. Seattle really ran the ball down their throat. Walker, 18 for 97 and 2 touchdowns. He looked really good. He's taken control of that backfield and has not let go. Charbonnet still had 9 carries, but it's clearly Walker's backfield to lose.
I definitely was a guy who thought Charbonnet would be more involved.
And he had 3 for 59 receiving as well.
It's good for Walker that he's able to keep the job, but why waste a pick on a guy in the second round?
I don't get it, man. I don't get just poor roster construction.
I just kind of go off of hey, they went out and drafted a guy in the second round. I would assume he's going to be more involved. If you're not going to involve him, If it's not going to be 50-50, why the hell did you draft him?
Yeah, why'd you
in the
take a
second round?
backup running back in the second round? It just doesn't make any sense. There was plenty
They've
of
always
other
had very
options.
questionable moves at the running back position.
I know. It's strange. DK looked good, 6 for 112. I mean, good win for Seattle. A win they should have had. They're 2-1 now, so
Yeah,
kind of
let's
where you
move on
expect
to the
them
next
be.
one. All right, we got Raiders and Steelers. Steelers 23, Raiders 18. This was actually a pretty good game to watch.
I won $1,000 on this game.
Oh, wow.
I had a sick parlay.
I'm sure all the people are like, oh, why didn't you post that as the around the felt lock of the week?
I know what the hell. I had Devontae over yards, over receptions. I had Pickens over yards. I had Jaylen Warren over receptions, over yards, and then the big juicy one was Pat Freiermuth touchdown.
What were the odds on that parlay?
Plus 2,200.
Wow. Yeah, no, I'm sure the people would have liked that.
It was juicy. It was juicy.
But I feel like if you posted it, it probably wouldn't have hit because that's just how those things go.
Yeah,
It's
I had
always the ones you don't
Steel-
share that hit.
I had Steelers. You were on the Raiders,
I
right?
was on the Raiders, yeah. I mean, it was a good game. Questionable at the end by McDaniels to elect to kick the
Oh
field
my
goal.
god, what is he doing? I saw a stat. It was like he was the first coach in NFL history to kick a field goal down 8 with like that amount of time left.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? You're trying to outsmart it, like think you're gonna get a stop, and
They didn't. No.
they didn't. No.
Oh wait, no. Did they get? No, they think they got the ball back with like.
Oh yeah, with like 10 seconds
Yeah.
left.
So
Like,
I mean, it's
it
like,
was fucking stupid.
technically
Go
it
for
worked,
it.
but you weren't even
'Cause-
close enough to get the ball to the end zone.
It's so bad because you still need a touchdown regardless.
Yeah.
You know, if you kick the field goal or not.
yeah.
So I mean, I just
What
think
I'll
it was
say
very
about the
stupid
Steelers
play.
is they
McDaniel's gonna get fired after this.
What
year.
I'll say about the Steelers is, hey, you ran the ball more than you passed the ball, and look at this, you won the game. Kenny Pickett looked
Hey,
good.
Najee Harris, 65 yards, tacking on the leading rusher this year. Let's go.
Well, I mean, he had some okay runs. I mean, at least I'm happy they finally actually committed to the run, even not just because of that bet, but it's like when you don't make Kenny Pickett throw the ball 40, 50 times a game, you let him throw the ball 28 times. He actually looks like a good quarterback.
Yeah, George Pickens looks really good, man. I like
He
him in the
does.
number one role.
And Calvin Austin too, the burner, with a
he
big
had
touchdown.
long
70
touchdown. Pat Freiermuth, shout out my guy Pat. 3 for 41, a touchdown. Love to see it. The Steelers' defense is still legit, man. I
Yeah,
love it.
and I think
mean,
this
they
is how they're
picked
gonna
off
win the
Garoppolo 3 times.
This is how they're going to win games. Great defense, running the ball a lot.
protecting
and then-
your young quarterback.
Yes.
Play
Don't
action
make
off
the
of
guy
it.
throw the ball 40, 50 times a game. Let him develop. Like, I think if he throws the ball 30 times a game, that likely means they won the game.
Yeah, I mean,
I think they just they can't give up on the run so quickly.
yeah, their defense.
Whether it's
was
Harris or
great.
Warren, but you got to take a little bit off of Pickett's shoulders.
They also had 4 sacks, which is nice.
Yeah, and
Jacobs looked
they
a little bit
protected
better.
Pickett too. Only 1 sack given up.
Yeah. Jacobs looked a little better, 17 for 62. Still not what you want to see from the reigning Russian king, but my goodness, Devontae Adams, 20 targets, 13 for 172 and 2 touchdowns. Just a disgusting performance. Jacoby Myers looked really good too, 7 for 85 on 12 targets. I mean, it seems like it's those two and, I mean, everyone else. Like, they're not really targeting Renfro that much. DeAndre Carter's irrelevant, so if Jimmy G's healthy, I just think they're going to pump the ball to those 2 receivers all day. Hopefully Jacobs can figure it out. They have a good matchup next week. So we'll see. We'll see if they can get it going. But, I mean, we didn't really have high expectations for this team. I thought it was a good win for the Steelers on the road.
Yeah, so let's move right into the Monday night games. The first of the 2, Eagles beat the Bucs 25-11. Another scoregami in this game.
That was a scoregami, huh?
It was a scoregami, yep. We saw 2 this week.
That's
Weekend.
that's crazy. 2 scoragamis in 1 week.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's easy to get one when one of the teams gets 70 points.
I will say, yeah, it's true. Eagles are 3-0. They still haven't really hit their stride, but their defense is still elite. Hurts played through apparently flu-like symptoms. He had 2 picks. Not what you want to see.
It's funny because I'm a big Hurts guy, and it's funny because like the media was like, Jalen Hurts has already turned the ball over more than he did last year. It's like, well, Hurts last year had like a crazy year. They were like, through 3 games, Hurts already has more turnovers than last year. It's like, all right, well, you realize last year he turned the ball over 3 times, like in like a 10-game span.
Yeah.
So obviously you'd like to see him take care of the ball better. Like 3 interceptions already, you don't love to see. But at the end of the day, he's not killing the Eagles. He's not burning them. That push play is still elite. He got another rushing touchdown. I think it's safe to say.
I'm starting to get sick of it. I hate it.
I
the
don't
push
hate
play.
it because it's like I like it and I look at it like every team should do it, but then again, every team doesn't have a quarterback that squats 600 pounds. But it's like to me, like you guys, it's like I know the Jets wouldn't be able to do that because Zach Wilson's
Giants
just
started
on the
doing
side.
it, too.
Like the Giants should do it more. Daniel Jones is 6'5".
I don't like it. I just don't like it.
Until they ban it, I have no problem with it. I say run it. I would run it every single time. If I'm on the 1-yard line, like, and you got a guy that's bigger and like can take a hit, run it every single time. Like,
I mean, absolutely. I mean, they ran it back-to-back plays. You stopped it once. It's like, wow, they actually stopped it. And then you're like, well, they're about to run it again, and there's no way you stop it again. So,
and Hurts looks like a guy that's going to go for double-digit touchdowns again, clearly just because.
On the ground, yeah, it's going to happen. He's done it every year. It's going to happen.
It would just make me frustrated having a
AJ
Swift
Brown,
or a Gainwell in this offense where it's like, they're
tough.
not going to get the red zone touchdown because they're just going to run that play.
That's true, because Swift looked really good again, 16 for 130. I will say, this morning I was watching Good Morning Football, and I saw some ridiculous. Oh no, it was actually First Take. Chris Canty had some ridiculous stat where they lead the league in rushing yards, and they already have over 400 rushing yards before contact. That just shows how they have 500 and something rushing yards, which leads the league, and over 400 are before contact, which just shows how dominant this Eagles front is. They're just pushing people aside and huge holes for the running backs to run through. Don't get me wrong, Swift still played well, but
he was a lot more efficient than Gainwell. 2 more carries, but over 90 more rushing yards. So
yeah, Swift. I mean, he had the sick hurdle in the safety.
I guess. I mean, it looks like Gainwell's still going to be involved a lot, but I think Swift's going to continue to be the number one guy.
I think he's earned it the past 2 weeks. Absolutely.
Yeah,
AJ Brown, big game, 9 for 131 as well.
And then on the Bucs side, let's talk about the Bucs a little bit. I mean, this is a come back down to earth type of game. Baker. I mean, he wasn't terrible, but you'd like to see more out of him. I mean, 146 isn't great, but Eagles have a good defense. His 1 touchdown came in garbage time when they were down 25-3 at that point, so you'd like to see a little bit more. I mean, Mike Evans, once again, great for fantasy, had 5 for 60 with a touchdown, so clearly he's been a great fantasy draft. I mean, I know you were saying not to draft him. I was saying he was a sleeper.
Yeah, I want to stay away from the wideouts just because I know it's
so far, I mean, Mike Evans is 17 catches for 297 and 3. Good. So after 3 weeks, he's
still doing Mike Evans things.
Yeah, every week. If you played him every week, you've been happy every single week. So
tough game for the Bucs. Tough matchup. I knew they weren't going to be able to run the ball against this Eagles front. No. And although Baker was only sacked twice, he was being pressured all game, running outside the pocket and having to throw it away. So just a tough matchup. I mean, this Philly team's elite. We knew the Bucs probably didn't have the firepower to keep up with them.
Well, let's get into I mean, I don't really have much else to say about that. Do you?
No, that's fine.
All right, let's get into the final game then. Bengals 19, Rams 16. Big bounce back game for the Bengals. Even with Joe Burrow not throwing 1 touchdown pass, he looked much better than they've looked in the first 2 games. We said it earlier. I loved seeing them actually manufacture touches for Jamar Chase. I mean, 12 for 141.
15 targets. Love that.
If you drafted Jamar Chase early like I did in a couple leagues, I was a little worried after the first 2 games, but this is a game that you're like, all right, better days ahead. They're trying to get on the ball. They clearly see what the rest of us see. So that was huge. And then Joe Mixon had a good fantasy game too. He got in with a big score. So
yeah, I mean, T. Higgins, 2 catches on 8 targets for 21. A lot of drops. We mentioned that earlier. Yeah. Not good, but they'll catch their stride. I will say, Bengals, I picked to win the Super Bowl. If you start 0-3, that would have been very bad. So although Burrow pushed through the injury, which some people have questioned it, thinking you're risking the long-term outlook for Burrow with a calf, because calf injuries, you have a greater risk in an Achilles injury, which would be awful for this team. He pushed through, got him the win.
I mean, if something like that happens, the season's over. Yeah, they're in the same boat as the Jets.
Yeah, season's over. Defense looked good for the Bengals again. I mean, Stafford threw 2 picks. I think both were to Logan Wilson, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they both were.
Yeah, so I mean, that's phenomenal. Dax Hill looks good. I mean,
this Bengals pass rush looked great. I don't know if it's them or more so the Rams offensive line.
Yeah, they had 6 sacks. We know the Rams O-line isn't good. No Boom went down with injury at one point. I mean, he isn't even good. So, but we kind of knew they were going to let go of Jesse Bates before this year because they had confidence in Dax Hill, and he's starting to play really well. So that bodes well for this Bengal defense. On the Rams side, Nakua 5 for 72 on 7 targets. Still a solid game, just nothing crazy that we've seen that wasn't historic.
Yeah, I mean, he got you 9.7 for half-point PPR. Like, you really can't complain with a waiver wire guy like that.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's fine. Tutu Atwell looked pretty good, too. Had that carry for 22 in the end around, 4 catches for 50.
Kyron Williams, not an amazing game, but what I will say is he was the only running back to get touches, so...
Yeah,
he kind of burned you. I mean, he had, 27 plus 38. Oh, boy. 65 yards. So he had 65 yards on 2. So, I mean, he only had 7.5 for half-point PPR, but still, he didn't burn you. And the fact that he was the only running back involved bodes well season long. So.
I'm pumped the Rams lost. I have them under 6.5. And that would have been dicey if they beat the Bengals in my Super Bowl pick. So
yeah. I will say... Great game for kickers. If you had either of these guys for fantasy, I mean, it was
McPherson hit some bombs.
It was field goal after field goal last night in this game. But overall, it was a I'd say it was a great week of football, and I'm excited for week 4. I don't know about you.
God, I'm excited every week, man. I hate Tuesdays and Wednesdays because I have nothing to do all day, nothing to look forward to. I just can't wait for Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, more football.
Well, I mean, hey, I'd say I'm good with this week's episode. That kind of wraps up what we got for this week.
Yeah, that's a good breakdown, brother. Looking forward to doing my punishment.
Yeah, so the next episode will be out on Thursday. And, yeah, make sure you guys are checking out social media over the next couple days. You'll get to see Colin doing a shoey, choice of my beer and my shoe.
Yeah, check out my blog, too, you know. That's the least I can ask for after you watch me yak up.
Keep checking out the social media over the next couple days. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, guys.